Okay, so today we are looking at Ielts General Training Task 1, which means you have to write a letter. Now, here in this letter, look at the prompt. What are they going to ask? You live in a room in a college which you share with another student. However, there are many problems with this arrangement and you find it very difficult to work. Write a letter to accommodation officer at the college. In your letter, describe these three bullet points. You must mention all three. If you did not mention one or two, you did not achieve the task. So for the task achievement, you will receive the maximum band 5. So you must include these three bullet points. You have to describe the situation. You have to explain your problem and why it's difficult to work. You have to say what kind of accommodation you would prefer. So I would give you a minute to plan, and then I will come back and talk to you if you have any question in mind. Okay, so let's read the prompt again. You live in a room in a college, okay, and you share a room with another student. However, there are some problem with this arrangement, like you are not happy. There are some issues. Maybe your roommate is making too much noise. Maybe he is sleeping during the day, and he's awake throughout the night, and he leave the light turned on. Or maybe he's playing music, or maybe he is inviting his friend or her friends over. Like let's say the room is only for 2 students, but he is always having friends over. So he's not the only one, staying in the room. He is inviting other people, which is disturbing you, and you are not happy with this situation because you have to study. You might work part time as well, so your whole routine is being disturbed, and you are facing a lot of issue like you can't sleep on time, you cannot wake up, you are missing classes due to not getting enough sleep. You might be missing classes or not being able to do your chores in a productive way. So whatever the situation you are facing, among all the example that I give you, you might be having some of those situations. So what you have to do is you have to write a letter to the accommodation officer. So it means it's a formal letter, and you have to describe the situation. And then you have to explain your problem, why it's difficult to work with. And then you have to give some recommendation or ask for something that you might want to change your roommate, which could be a little bit difficult. You might want to ask them to give you another room, or you may be willing to pay extra money if you can get a separate room. Okay, so and apart from this, all the basic details that I suppose you already know that you have to write within 150 words, minimum 150 words. You do not need to write your address. Now let's look at some of the key points that you need to address. The first key point is like the way how you're gonna talk. You can't talk in an angry way. You have to be formal and polite way. Like you have to bring out your problems, your situation in a very soft tone because you don't want to piss off the accommodation officer. Think of this letter as a real life situation. Okay, so if you use inappropriate tone, maximum band, you get 5. So now let's look at a simple answer of the same essay of a student who got 5.5 band. Let's have a look. So this is a letter from a student. Okay, here we go. Dear sir or madam. Okay, look, the paragraphing is is good, logically organized. Dear sir or madam, I'm writing to express my dissatisfaction with my roommate. As you know, we share one room. I cannot study in the room at all anymore if I still stay here. Okay. Sorry. She always has she always has friend visiting and has parties in the room. Okay, they make lots of noise and switch on the radio very loudly. Okay, for me, this environment is very difficult to study and I need a quiet room. Okay, even borrows my things without asking. It is very impolite. Okay, you can hear some, um, some grammatical mistake in vocabulary. I request you can give me a new room next term because I have been asked her. See, because I have been asked her his parties in other place many times. They still have parties in the room. I really cannot stay in the same room with her. Let's read this paragraph again. So many mistakes. I request you can give me a new room next term because I have been asked her his parties in other place many times. They still have parties in the room. I really cannot stay in the same room with her. Now I can understand what she trying to say, but it's taking a lot of time for the examiner to understand what exactly she trying to say. So the overall progression is not clear, and there are grammatical mistakes as well. I would be grateful if you could change me. If you could change me, see, I would be grateful if you could change me a single room. If you could give me a single room, I'm willing to pay extra, like the one I just mentioned to you in the beginning. You're faithfully, Catherine. Sorry, I'm just having some throat issues right now. I don't know why. But let's read the examiner comments. See, she got 5.5 band. Now let's look what the examiner is saying. The response does address the requirement of the task. What are the requirement of the task? She described the situation. She explained the problem like invite her friend, play loud radio, and why it's difficult to work. She explained. She also mentioned what kind of accommodation you would prefer, and she said if you could change me a single room. So she did address all three parts for the task achievement. Okay, let's see it again. The response does address the requirement of the task and appears in a letter format. Format is okay. The second bullet point is well covered with multiple problems presented. This one, explain your problems. However, overall, there is some repetition of the task rubric, and there is room for more details to be included. For example, coverage of the third bullet point. Third bullet point. What kind of accommodation you would prefer? And she said, I would be grateful if you could change me a room. So the examiner is saying that overall there is some repetition of the rubric and there is room for more detail to be included. For example, coverage of the third bullet point. So she should have write more for the third bullet point. The organization of idea is not wholly logical and points are not always linked together. Cohesion and coherence. Despite this problem, the introduction to the letter is appropriate and the purpose of the letter is clear. So the purpose and format is clear. There is a range of vocabulary which is generally adequate and appropriate for the task, but it's not good. Complex structure are attempted, but overall sentences are kept quite simple. Grammatical errors are frequent, and they do cause some difficulty for the reader. Now, as you know, that you are writing, the examiner assesses you on four things: task achievement, cohesion and coherence, grammatical range and accuracy, and lexical resources. So grammatical errors are frequent and they do cause some difficulty. So she might have got 5 bands for grammatical, 5 bands for lexical, 5 bands for coherence, or something on, and 5.5 bands or 6 bands for task achievement. I think the maximum band she got is for task achievement. The reason for explaining this later and sharing this sample with you is that you need to understand why this student got 5.5 bands. You have to learn from I need to drink water, I guess. Sorry. So as I keep repeating myself a lot of times, you might have seen me in a lot of videos and during the class that in order to reach a higher band score, you need to learn from your mistake. Now, right now, I'm sharing with you the mistake of another student. This is a real test. So someone actually wrote this letter. The examiner gave them these bands. So let me read it again, okay? Since I have explained, let me read it again, and then you will have a clear idea. Now let's go back to the prompt. You live in a room in a shared accommodation with another student, but you're facing a lot of problems and you are not happy with. So you need to write a letter to accommodation officer. You need to describe you need to do all these three things. You need to describe your situation. You need to explain your problems and why it's difficult to work, and what kind of accommodation you would prefer. Okay. So the first thing that you need to identify is that the letter is formal, so you need to use a formal tone. Now let's read again. Dear sir or madam, I'm writing to express my dissatisfaction with my roommate. As you know, we share one room. I cannot study in the room at all anymore if I still stay here. So she cannot focus on the study. Okay. She always has friend visiting and has parties in the room. GRA mistake. They make a lot of noise and switch on radio very loudly. For me, this environment is very difficult to study and I need a quiet room. Even borrows my things without asking. It is very impolite. GRA mistake. I request you can give me a new room next term because I have been asked her his parties in other place many times. They still have parties in the room. I really cannot stay in this room with her. So what is she trying to actually say is that I would humbly request you if you could give me a single room in the coming terms, next term or next semester, because I have asked my roommate many times that if she wanna have a party, she could just do, she could have fun outside the room, but she don't listen to me and she still invite her friends into the room and they, play loud music, and I cannot really stay in the same room with her anymore. Now the third bullet point, I would be grateful if you could change me a single room. Again, GRA mistake. Again, this paragraph, the examiner said that it could be, explained more. There is room for more words. Okay, and now let's go back. Let's go back. Let's read it carefully. Okay. Okay. so so task one scripts are assessed on the following criteria, as I mentioned: task achievement, coherence and cohesion, lexical resource, GRA, grammatical range and accuracy. And okay, so the okay, it's not the comments. So now let's go back how we could write. How we could write, dear sir or madam. Okay, dear sir or madam. I'm writing to express. Um, how do I start? Let's see, how does she start it? I'm writing to express my dissatisfaction. Okay. However, the problem of discouragement found difficult. Dear sir, man, I'm a student of master in your work. Give me a second, okay? I'm not feeling well today, that's why I'm coughing. Okay. Dear sir, madam, I'm a student uh, of masters in your student. I'm student of masters, and I'm living in a shared accommodation with another student. Uh, another student for how much? I'm a student of master and I'm living in a shared accommodation with another student, which falls under your supervision, and therefore I wanna and therefore I'm writing a consideration letter. Consideration because I want the accommodation officer to consider my situation and make some arrangement for me, right? So, and I have to use a very polite tone. So first I have to introduce myself. I'm a student of master's and I'm living in a shared accommodation with another student, which fall under another student. Okay, another student, and it's block H, which fall under your supervision. Therefore, I'm writing to you for a humble request. Therefore, I'm writing for consideration. What should I write? What should I choose? And therefore, I'm writing a consideration letter. Should I say consideration? And therefore, okay, let's not complicate it. And therefore, I'm writing to you to express the situation and come and possibly arrange and possibly arrange an alternative option for me. Okay, interesting. So I'm a student of master and I'm living in a shared accommodation with another student blockage which fall under your supervision. Therefore, I'm ready to express the situation and possibly arrange an alternative option for me. I'm writing to you to express the situation that I'm facing. That I'm facing and having issues. You see how I'm editing? This is the difference between on paper and on computer. Like right now, I'm having more ideas, so I'm just editing. It's very easy. So I'm writing to you to express the situation, not to express the situation, to express the situation. I'm wrong. So I'm writing to you to highlight the situation that I'm facing, and I'm gonna write this at the end. Okay, situation and why and I'm situation that I'm facing, and I'm not happy about it. That's it. My roommate is awake all the night, keeping the light turned on and playing loud music. This is something that actually happened. So my roommate is awake all the night, keeping the light turned on and playing loud music, which badly irritates me, and I can't I can't sleep. which again, which again, you know, which again, I can't sleep, and then this bed irritates me, and I can't sleep, and then I get, and then I always get late for my class. And secondly, secondly, he all he is always always inviting his friends. They they drink. Okay, yes, they did. Drink and smoke, and just seriously, I'm imagining the situation right now. So my roommate is always awake all the night, keeping the light turned on and playing loud music, which barely irritates me and I can't sleep. And then I always get late for my class. Secondly, he is always inviting his friends. They drink and smoke in the room, totally neglecting my existence, uh, totally neglecting my personal space, totally neglecting my person, invading my personal space, invading my personal space. Okay, now the third paragraph, we have to come here. What kind of accommodation do you prefer? So let's read again. Dear sir or madam, okay, I'm sure you can hear me. Okay, dear sir or madam, I'm a student of master and I'm living in a shared accommodation with another student in block H, which fall under your supervision, and therefore I'm writing to you to highlight the situation that I'm facing, and I'm not happy about it. Why I'm not happy about it? My roommate is always awake. My roommate is awake all the night, keeping the light turned on, and playing loud music, which barely irritates me and I can't sleep. And then I always get late for my class, for my classes. Secondly, he is always inviting his friend. They drink and smoke in the room, totally invading my personal space. Okay, interesting. Um, I have tried to discuss these issues with him and many him on many occasions on many occasion, asking him politely to use other options option his entertain for his fun, um but he don't bother to but he don't bother to bring it to consideration. uh, that's why I had to write to you, and it's my humble request that you kindly give me a separate room, um, as soon as possible. I'm willing to pay extra fee if required. That's it. We already have crossed 178 words. Okay. You're faithfully, you're sincerely, or you're faithfully, however you close, you're faithfully. uh, Zahid. Okay. I know I have wrote more than 150 words, but that's all, I needed. I needed that much word to express the situation. Now let's read again, okay? So what I'm gonna do here, I'm gonna take a screenshot. Okay, I need this screenshot. Thank you, just save it. Uh, Writing task one answer. Where I'm gonna save. Okay. Uh, okay. So I live in a room and I'm facing issue with my roommate and I need to ask the accommodation manager to give me an alternative. Now let's read if I haven't described the situation, if I have explained my problem, why it's difficult to work, if I have asked what kind of accommodation I would prefer. Okay. So dear sir or madam, I'm a student of master and I'm living in a shared accommodation with another student in block H which fall under your supervision. Therefore, I'm writing to you to highlight the situation that I'm facing and I'm not happy about it. My roommate is awake all the night, keeping the light turned on and playing loud music, which badly irritates me and I can't sleep. And then I always get late for my classes. Secondly, he is always inviting his friend. They drink and smoke in the room, totally invading my personal space. I have tried to discuss these issues with him on many occasions, um, asking him politely to use other option for his fun, but he did not. But he don't bother to bring. But he did not. But he don't. But he don't bother. But he did not. But he don't even bother. But he don't even bother to bring into consideration. That's why I had to write to you, and it's my humble request that you kindly give me a separate room as soon as possible. I'm willing to pay extra fee if required. Your faithfully, Zahid Islam. Thank you. Okay. No. One question.